She Makes It Happen, a series of online conversations unlocking theatre making with female artists. Produced by Little Soldier Productions with the support of Spain Arts and Culture and Spanish Embassy in London.
Hello, we are Little Soldier Productions. My name is Patricia Rodriguez, half of Little Soldier. Hello and welcome to our series of online conversations, She Makes It Happen, Unlocking Theatre Making with Female Artists. This is a series of talks with leading international artists of Spanish heritage, and it's supported by Spain Arts and Culture and Spanish Embassy in London. Just before we go ahead, just a little bit of housekeeping for those attending this webinar on Zoom and the ones via Facebook Live. So if you are with us in Zoom, you will be able to place your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. And if you are on Facebook Live, just use the comment section and at the bottom of the video itself. So yeah, that's it. That's all from me.
No, we'll be hearing from you so a little bit more later. Hi everyone. My name is Mercè. I'm the other half of Little Soldier Productions, and we are here today with Carolina Valdés. Carolina is a theatre maker. She's a performer and a movement director. She is also the co-artistic director of Teatre, which she co-founded as well in 2000. And we met Carolina in Edinburgh a few years ago. When she was doing A Secret Agent. It was a production co-produced by the Young Vic and Theatre O, and we were mesmerized by her on stage. She moves effortlessly and beautifully across the stage. And once we finished, we met in the bar, and we thought it would be fantastic to be able to have a conversation today, invite her here, because we would like to talk to her about leading devising processes and about redefining ourselves through the act of making. So hello, Carolina.
Hello.
Carolina.
Hello.
Okay, I will keep on presenting you because your CV is quite impressive to me. I was like very impressed by it. So for those who don't know her work yet, Carolina graduated from the École Internationale of Theatre, Jacques, Lecoq, and the Collège de Théâtre de Barcelona. Latest studies includes The Tempest, Henry IV, and Julius Caesar at the Doma Warehouse. You may have seen her as well in the last season of Killing Eve. I will say no more. I will not say very much spoilers, but she's covered in paprika. Am I right? Is it paprika? Paprika? Yes.
A lot of it.
So, okay, but for most of you probably don't know that she was the movement coach to Daniel Radcliffe in the last 2 Harry Potter films. Currently, Carolina has been awarded an Arts Council grant to write her first play, Sheriff, which is, I think, or has been fully workshopped, and it's due to be presented next year with Theatre O at Shoreditch Town Hall, am I right?
Hopefully, yes, that's the plan. That's right, yes.
All right, so I think we're done with presentations. Hello.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me here. It's really great. Thank you.
Fantastic. We were wondering if we were back in the Edinburgh bar in the Traverse, what would be the drink of your choice?
Yeah, I think I would have a beer as well. Yara was saying, I think it's connected with wanting something really cold at the end of it. First, a lot of water and then a beer.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were talking now about your CV, and the last thing I said was about your Arts Council grant, about your writing, the writing of Sheriff. Is this what you are up to these days? Are you mostly writing now? Is this what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I finished writing the piece during the lockdown, and so we've also done a lot of workshops on it over the years. This is a piece that has been evolving for a long time, in between other shows as well that we've done, and so now it's fully written, and we were due to have our very last R&D week on the first week of the lockdown, so that didn't happen, but now it's ready to be rehearsed, basically. So we're looking at, you know, the landscape at the moment, and looking at the possible scenarios for bringing that into fruition. So next year would be the year that initially we had planned to make it, and we still hope that that's the case.
Great.
Great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think maybe now probably the most difficult question of today. So we start with this one. How would you describe what you do and your work to someone who's never seen your work?
Yeah, this is our favorite question of all the, you know, it's like 20 years and I still don't know. I actually had to go onto my website and look at the definition that we ourselves wrote about what is it actually that we do. Because also it keeps evolving. So sometimes I read it and I go, really? Is that still what we do? But I think at the core of it, we bring, I mean, we create plays, we make plays. At the core of Théatre, which is our company. When I say our company, is me and my partner, Joseph Alford, and then the wonderful people that we work with, depending on the project. But it's a very collaborative, ensemble-based process. We always link the epic to the domestic. Family is always at the core of it. Somehow we always get pulled into the dysfunctionality of the family life, and we can't stop talking about it. And then in terms of the form, they tend to be very shaped pieces that we make, both rhythmically and visually. Yeah, they feel very, very sculpted when I think about them, and we use it's very visual, and we use a lot of imaginative and poetic language, or we aspire to do that, and there's an element as well of physical prowess. We like to push ourselves physically with our pieces.
That's great. We will go into the process in a moment, but we find this quite useful because we find a little bit of, I would say, our style or the things. The question is, what do you like to see? What do you like to see in the theatre? If you like a particular company, if you're a fan of someone's work, and if you can explain us why.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't go to the theatre. I very, very little. There's very few people that I follow, and that's another thing that I question myself a lot about as well. Is like, wow, I'm a theatre maker and I hardly go to the theatre. Most of my inspiration comes from film and books, and there are a few companies that I have been following through the years. Ridiculousness is one of them. I don't know if you remember them. They're now based in Australia, but I've seen all their work throughout. We almost started at the same time. They were there a little bit before us, but we've sort of grown together, and it's been amazing and very fulfilling to watch from the outside the journey of one company, you know, throughout 20 years. So I love watching their shows, and I love it because it's a massive journey, not just the show that you watch in a moment, but I love the fact that, you know, 2-3 years ago I saw a show of them that I really disliked, and then the last show I saw I loved, and that change of gear was very exciting to me. And then yes, there's a dance company that I follow quite a lot, Peeping Tom from I really love what they do. Yes, their world and their what they do with their bodies never ceases to amaze me. And then I love the madness and the epicness of Romeo Castellucci. I don't know if you've seen any of
I have never seen anything from I have seen like short videos, but I have not really seen a piece.
It's a big scale. It's nothing I would ever do. Like the big scale really frightens me, and I like to see it, but as a process and as a world, as an artist, I don't feel particularly compelled to work on that scale. But I think what he does with it is so completely insane. I find it really exciting, and what I really like is both with him and actually all of them, Peeping Tom and Ridiculousness, it's people who kind of live and work together. They work with their families and their friends and their dogs and it's just I love that. I love the fact that you maybe because I work with my partner and you know, it's like I find it really difficult to separate all those things, and when I see other people doing it, I get really excited to see that they can do it and they can survive it, and they can progress it. So I'm attracted to that a lot.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yes, right. And it feels like most of these companies are companies that they don't come from the traditional. So here's the text that someone's written. There's a director, and then here's some actors and a producer, and then there it is on stage.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's a great sense of ownership of their work. It's only come from them. It couldn't have come from anyone else.
Yeah, that's very interesting, the sense of ownership. And I think we wanted to kind of now just go a little bit more into that process, the creating process that is very different than this kind of traditional creating process. And I guess this is the purpose of these talks, really. It was about to kind of break a little bit these preconceptions about what it means to make a theatre show. So we wanted to ask you, what is making theatre for you? What does it mean? What does it involve?
Yeah, I love the word theatre making. Actually, I can never find in Spanish the maybe you have, I don't know. Does anyone have an equivalent that is as good? Because theatre making, I don't know. It's so active and so. I find it really beautiful as a term, and I think I have forgotten your question. I don't know what
making theatre.
I got tangled in the theatre. Yeah, I mean, I like the activeness of it and all the levels of it. And I suppose, you know, I trained in a school where you engage with every aspect of theatre making, and I remember, you know, the first 10 years of our company's life, we toured extensively the UK in a van, and we did everything. We drove the van, we took the sets out, we put together the set, we did the lighting, we acted the show, we dismantled it, and that was brutal. It was brutal. And
sounds very familiar.
yeah. But I think, you know, I work at Central every year in the auditioning panels, and I see all these young people wanting to go into theatre making, and a lot of the time you see they want to reach like shortcuts to get to place, and I'm like, no, like drive that van, lift that furniture, put that set together, because what you get out of that informs the work. And I firmly believe that, and that's part of what theatre making is for me, and the ephemeral nature of it, of, like, you know, being in Cirencester for 1 or 2 nights and then poof, it's gone, and the amount of hours that you spend doing that, you know,
the epic effort that took you to go to that place. How short that moment was.
Yeah, it's so short. Yes, but there's something about the labor that I really enjoy, that to me transforms itself into a particular energy on stage, and into a particular an energy that then you carry with the show, and you have it. But yeah, I don't know if this answers your question, but
yes, it does. Yeah, perfectly, because you have gone into the actual, you know, meat of what it means to make it. So let's go back again to the process and let's start to deconstruct it a little bit. So when you make shows with Théatre or you know, when you work with other companies as an independent maker, so what would you say is the starting point of making? Is it an idea? Is it a text? What is it? Or I would imagine it changes, but
yeah, it's very different for every piece. It's been very, very different. We haven't done many shows actually. We've done maybe 6 shows, and you know, like for the first the inspiration for the first show was a 30-minute short piece that we decided to grow into an hour and a half and write 2 other pieces to accompany that already existed. The inspiration for the second show was an image of a family arguing with each other around a really big table, and that image was the structure for the whole show. For the third show, it was a short story. For the fourth and fifth show, it was 2 massive novels, The Brothers Karamazov and The Secret Agent. And for Sheriff, it was a picture. It was a picture of a woman that I saw in a newspaper while I was very heavily pregnant with my own daughter, and I saw this picture of a woman hanging from a bridge, a woman who had been kidnapped and killed in Mexico, and that was the starting point for the show. So it's very varied. It really depends, and then that generates an enormous amount of conversation, of thought, of looking into other sources, of talking to people, and then the show starts to appear.
Yeah.
So I guess I was just like remembering that we've been looking into Beckett, and he started some of his texts with an image as well of like a man in the window, and then from there he wrote. So it's like really interesting that even in different, it translates, you know, this kind of the starting point being an image. It could be to write a text or to make a piece of theatre. So,
yes, and also how things connect. Sometimes you get hooked into an image, and you're like, when you question why are you so interested in that image? What is it about it that makes you think about it all the time, and how does that connect to your own life? And then that brings a lot of information.
Yeah. And when you're making a new show, what is the bits that you enjoy the most? And what is the bit that you, I guess, dislike the most? Because it's not always like,
yeah, of course. Yeah. No, it definitely isn't. I love the moment when you're building the ensemble. That's my favorite moment, when you are in the beginning days of exploring a show, and you're in a room with great people that you want to be with, and you start improvising. That's how we work anyway. We start doing a lot of improvs, and those initial improvs, which are very free and very connected to the themes and to us, but they're very personal as well, and they build up the sort of DNA of the group. That's my favorite moment, because it's really exciting to get to know the others, and through that new bond, you know, accessing the material in a completely different way that you have been doing in your own head. So I love that. And in terms of parts that I don't like so much, I don't know, it's taking so long to, you know, how many years does it take? But sometimes the producing process is so long. It's almost, by the time you get to making the show, you're like, now I have to do it, really? I'm exhausted. So that length is difficult to carry, but you know, we're also so used to it. You find your sort of way around it, but it would be nice to have more, you know, more compact sort of immediate processes in that way.
The other question goes a little bit more into, you know, managing different aspects of what needs to be in the room, because precisely about theater. Oh, you are also a co-artistic director, and you, but you also have other roles when you make a show there. So yeah, tell us a little bit about, like, I imagine it changes from project to project. In the next one, I'm going to be on the stage as well, or how is it going on through the years? What's going on?
I think I caught, you were breaking down a little bit, but I think I understood what you're asking. But yeah, yes, there's quite a lot of roles. I think throughout the years, it's become clearer for me and for us, the different roles, and anyway, to me it's clearer what I'm better at. So I try to spend more energy in those places, and learning to wear a hat well and going, yeah, this hat suits me, and I can wear it, and I understand it. I understand how to wear this, has really helped me sort of progress and contribute better to what the piece needs or the company needs. I mean, it's complex because my partner is Joseph, and we're also together, and we have children together, and we've been together for like 20 years with the company, so it's multi-layered. And sometimes a lot of things get really mixed and confused, and it's intense. But we've also throughout the years learned to navigate that, and like for me it's clear, like I thrive being in the pieces, and I always want to be in them and perform in them, and I thrive in the writing process. When I say writing, I mean whether it is devising, like making it together as an ensemble, or whether it is sitting at my table on my own writing it. I've tried directing a number of times, but I don't enjoy it, actually. I love it that, you know, Joseph is the director of the shows, and he works really well, that division of tasks. And then the producing is difficult with, you know, it's a difficult role, that one, because we've had a number of producers, and every show has required different things, and we've both kind of tried to negotiate that. Joseph has been more leading on that front, and I'm really glad for that, because it's a really tough one, that one. But yeah, so we've been learning to sort of demarcate and go, okay, well, I'm better at this, I'm better at that. Like, we support each other in this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed with that, because Mercè and I, we are friends, you know, but we spend a lot of time together. Like...
You're married, yes. Yes. Yeah, it's full on, and a big role that for me is a big hat, and many times I don't know how to carry, is motherhood. Because we have 2 children, and they play a massive part in how we run the company and what we do, and how things are structured and organized, and even just down to the small thing of, like, we're in a rehearsal room by 5, and you're looking at his, you know, he or she is getting out of a club. That is part of that as well. So all of that plays a part, and I feel that leaks into our pieces. You know, it kind of, it's part of our work as well.
It is you have a very constrained timetable. You have to, logistics, and you really have to compartment that.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm amazed.
I love, there's a writer, there's an American writer, Shirley Jackson, who I really like, and she's got a great book where she talks about how she dealt with motherhood and creation, and she had 4 children. Oh my God. And she talked about, well, I could only write short stories because I had to fit it into school time, and it was the format that I could work with. So for me, these are really great constraints. I like this. I like to use this. Yes. Yeah.
use it, yeah, in the work. And I guess like maybe going a little bit more into those, you know, we talk about the different hats, but who is in your room? Who is in the room, the rehearsal room, and what do you look for? Because you talk about collaborating and how important the team is. So what do you look for in a team member, and who will we always find in your rehearsal?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the performers, the theatre makers that work with us, and that pool varies depending on the show. I think the smallest we've done is a 3-hander, and the biggest 7. So they're all either small or mid-scale. But yeah, the theatre makers, devisers, and they're always the first ones there. There's always, we've worked very closely with sound designer, because sound is very important in our shows, and music. An assistant director we've always, because we need, it's someone very anchoring to us, and someone that keeps track of everything, because we do a lot of improv work, and a lot of stuff needs to be recorded. And it's great to have someone there really keeping track of that, and making notes of everything, and having another, you know, view on the work.
You always work with the same
Team?
No, we've had different ones. We've had some of them have done a couple of pieces with us, but we've had a few. But it's always been a really key figure for us in the rehearsal room. And also, I think it's also related with the fact that we need a third person that is not me and Joseph, you know, because then we go home and we keep talking about it, and we need a third person that is outside like us, that is like a tripod, you know. It's like, okay, well, you're not in our constant flow. What are you seeing? What are you know? So I think that's why actually it's also so important for us. And stage managers, when we can afford to in the process, they have always been really important for us as well, because we use quite a lot of specific props, and we like to have those early on, and working with people who are really hands-on with this. And then the writer, we've worked with, depending on the project, in the last 2 or 3 shows with different writers, and that has been a very important person to have in the room from day one. And we've had very different sort of processes with the writing, but we've always had the writer in the room, watching all the improvs, responding to them, sometimes shaping them, sometimes taking whole improvs that we've filmed and then transcribing them and sort of editing them. So that person has also really been important. Yeah, mostly that, I think. And a choreographer. We've worked. There's always choreography in our pieces, and for 10 years we worked with Eva Vilamichana, who's a Catalan choreographer, fantastic person who has done pretty much all of our shows, apart from the no, she's done all of them, I think. Yeah, she's not developed Sheriff with us, but all the others she has. And she knows our language so well. We have such a shorthand, and she's built we have a warm-up that is a very clear structure that we always use. And she basically constructed that for us, and we've been adapting it and changing it, but it's a very clear skeleton, and for 20 years we've been using it. So she's also been really critical.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump a little bit on the process. I'm gonna go to the scenario where you have made your material, you are kind of edited what, you know, material, put it into, and you want to show it. Do you do scratch performances? Do you show it to people before showing it to the real people? I mean, the audience.
Yeah, we have done. I really don't like them. I really don't like them.
Scratch performance.
It's just the thing with scratch, like we've talked, you know, with every single show we talk about that we do this, and it's kind of, they're kind of pointless to a level, in the sense that when you put a scratch together, all of us in the room know what's not working. Okay. to invite a whole bunch of people to have that confirmed is useful to an extent, but also a lot of the times we're like, oh, let's just crack on and make it work or change it, you know. And I mean, I don't want to sound, how do you say, prepotente, you know, I don't know, like saying we know what's wrong with it, but it just feels like, I don't know, like we really value having people coming into the room while we're rehearsing to watch chunks maybe of it, and to witness what's happening in the room and to be into the conversations when they're happening. That, yes, that's really useful. Like when we were like
open rehearsals. And
yes, it's like, oh, it'd be great. Yeah, and you know, what so-and-so would think about this, or you know, to get a different. But it takes an enormous amount of resources, energy, and time to put together a Scratch performance. And the most successful one that we did was, in fact, ended up not being a Scratch. We did a trailer, a 20-minute trailer. Like we treated it like a finished product, and that was the most successful Scratch type thing that we've done, because actually, no matter how many times you say it's a Scratch performance, I still believe people think it's something kind of finished. They come and see it, they come and see something achieved at a certain level, and they're coming most of the time looking for the connect. You know, they have to understand that if it's a 15-20 minute thing, you're not going to understand in the context of a piece that is going to be potentially 2 hours long. Of course, you're not going to understand what's going on. You might get a sense of the world of the piece, of the style of it, of who's in it, and that's all valuable. But it takes, for us, for the type of Scratch performance that we feel proud to present, it takes an enormous amount of work, and I don't think it's the best use of our energy and so our resources.
Does it shape it? If you have a week or you have 2 weeks, it shapes those 2 weeks because you have to prepare.
It becomes a performance. It becomes preparing for a performance. And then the exploration time ceases for those 2 weeks.
Preparing for that.
You sort of feel like you're exploring, but actually you're not, because you're really worried that does this make any sense? Is this look good? Is this of any theatrical value? And it's something else. You're polishing something else. So, you know, it's, you know, maybe very, very, very early on in a process, if you're really lost and you want to sort of make a splurge of a particular world that you're blindly, that's useful. I think that's useful. But later on, I mean, you know, I don't know, it's an expensive thing. It's really precious to have time in a room with people. And I'm just not convinced is the best way. But it's tricky because, you know, if people don't know your work, you're stuck.
But a lot of the times is one of the requisites of getting some funding sometimes.
Absolutely.
Working with a venue.
Yeah.
So how do you juggle that as an artist when you come and talk to a venue and they tell you, we like your work, we like you to do this piece, develop this piece? How do you have that conversation to say, we don't want to actually present anything at the end of it?
Yes, yeah. It's very tricky. Yes, you're right. I mean, for me, if you know what you're getting into and it's like, okay, you're looking for 20 minutes worth of material at the end of it, I think of that process in a completely different way. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna, this is not an exploration time. This is, we are going to devise and perfect 20 minutes of material so that whoever comes understands, to do justice to the sort of themes and world and theatrical language that we're exploring. And for us anyway, it requires a lot of work. It's not a style, the one that, you know, the work that we do is not a kind of throwaway thing where you can be casual. It's quite structured and
yes,
and processed and layered, and it's yeah, I think then it's another approach.
It's tricky.
And I'm sorry, I'm going a little bit more into that because I find it really interesting. When you open the room to people, you say sometimes we open the room to people who during the process, during the rehearsals, that we for whatever reason you know that they will be useful.
Yeah.
Is that people that you trust? Is like other dramaturgs, other?
Yeah, it might be varied. Yeah, it might be dramaturgs. It might be people who really know your work and understand it and get what you want to achieve with this new piece, and maybe you've already had conversations about it, and you're like, oh, I wonder. Sometimes it might be a complete outsider, but that does some, you know, an artist from another discipline completely, but that you really respect their view on whether it's the themes that you're working with, or the languages that you're working with, or you know, or the views of the world that they have, you know, and you value their opinion. It depends. Yeah, it's a varied
profile of person.
Yeah.
And then now, when do you think the piece is finished? Is it after the opening night? Is it 2 weeks after the opening night? You get the first reviews? Is it when is it?
Yeah, wow, it's hard. I mean, never, probably. It's finished. I think in the negative sense, a piece is finished when you stop asking questions about it, when you're gone, when you're just rocking up to do the job and go. That finished in the bad sense. Okay, this is going nowhere else.
Okay.
But because if you, for us, is like, okay, opening night, definitely not finished. We've always kept rehearsing afterwards, but then we've hit with every piece we've done a really tricky place where, and it's happened every time, where it's like, okay, now we need to stop changing it, because we won't ever own it as performers if we keep changing it. And also there's a moment when the director needs to go, fuck off, because it's like the people on the stage, and Joseph has been on set, he also performs, so in that case it's tricky, because he's also been in most of our shows, so that's also been interesting, because then you don't get a break from the director.
But you live with him.
but you know, that's also something really amazing to work through. You know, you have to work it out, and you have to you have to find what works, but I think it's important that when the actors, when the performers, the people who are giving the show out every night, a creative team included, who are there running the show, there's a pulse and a thing about, and a life of it that ends up being handed. Now that doesn't, like, we are, like, I think notes are so important. So we've also been lucky to work with performers who are into, you know, get given notes, and because that's, otherwise that conversation stops, and also you do lose track of certain things, and it's really good to be reminded, oh, why am I doing this again in this moment? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Or so that's really good, and that we always keep that going. Yeah, it's.
What is the process for you then for giving notes? Because I know different companies work like different ways. That some people like to have it straight after the show. Some people is like a big no. And then do you come earlier the next day and then work on these notes, or you just give the notes and then people go away?
Yeah, we tend to give them the next day, and yeah, because we always have a warm up. We always come together before the show to warm up, so we always allow plenty of time to arrive, warm up all together, reconnect with the show, and it's in that time. To before, normally, I mean, I don't know, it depends of where we've been, but yeah, before warming up, so that during the warm up as well, you sort of process that. Yeah, normally that's how we do it.
So I was wondering if we could move into the writing, because I'm very, very intrigued into regarding your leap into writing now. When we talked, sorry,
Patricia, before you go into the writing, because I'm just a bit conscious of time, and I wanted to do a little reminder that if anyone wants to do any questions, they can post it now on the Q&A or on Facebook. I'm going to have a little look if there's any questions on Facebook, and just make sure that you post in there. The chat is disabled, so so you won't be able to post questions there, but you will be in the Q&A.
Amazing.
Please do carry on.
So yeah, I was saying about writing, because when we talked to Carolina before this meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I loved what you said about the devising process, and how I love what you said about, like, sometimes it's a trap. It's a trap. You know, the devising process is a trap, because we do collective work, we work all together, and then sometimes you just need to, you know, you just need to write and to have the staff. Not that we follow paper and Little Soldier much, but I worked with Caroline Horton recently, and she writes a lot before coming to the rehearsal space. Like, she would be writing until 2 in the morning before coming to the rehearsal. Everything is fresh, and she's like, look, and it's, you know, gold, no?
Yeah.
So, I'm intrigued by this trap thing you were saying the other day, and please expand a little bit on that and in the writing. Sorry, I talked too much.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, I think because all our training and our trajectory as a company has been really collective and ensemble based, and that's at the core of what we do. And I wouldn't have it any other way. It's amazing. But also, I feel like I find that, yeah, it can be a trap sometimes, in the sense that sometimes I don't hear myself think, and I don't trust myself enough to push something through. And I think what I'm enjoying at the moment about the writing is the contrast between the collective experience and the solitude of being alone in your head, faced with that material, away from the very active process of being with other people in a room and sharing that. And I've just really enjoyed that, reconnecting with that. Yeah, I just feel like it makes me understand the work in a different way as well, and my relationship to it. I think also I have spent quite a number of years, you know, very spending a lot of time with my kids, and that's also like, you lose track, like I lose track of where I am creatively, like where's my voice, and where am I, what is this creative identity, you know. And I think in that solitude, it has helped me to reconnect with that. And sometimes in a room full of, you know, normally always we have worked with really talented people, creative, super exciting, and you're like immersed in this constant. And sometimes I'm like, wow, it's really nice to also put yourself apart and go, where am I internally with the ideas and with the creative process. And so I've been enjoying a lot of that with the writing, and I spent many years translating graphic novels and comic books, and that was a very solitary task, and suddenly it's like, oh god, I really miss that. I really so, yeah, so that's been a really nice I forgot that I enjoyed writing. I was so busy, you know, creating things and running the company and being in that role, and I was like, oh wow, it's true, I really like writing. And so this is part of me also reconnecting with that, basically.
So go ahead, Mercè, sorry, I thought you were going to put that thing.
Well, I was just thinking about this process of writing and this thing about reconnecting, and I was just thinking about identity and obviously your roots and which language you use to write, and you know, like, because I think that there's a lot here, I think, to unpick as well in terms of what language, because the language you use on stage is English mainly, and when do you write in English or in Spanish?
A mixture. Yes. Well, in this Sheriff is mainly written in English, and initially I was really scared of writing in English, because I thought it's not my language. And but there's a fantastic writer called Agatha Christophe, who wrote in French, and that was not her language. And she was saying that the thing about not writing in a language that is not yours is that it forces you to really simplify things, because
like Beckett with waiting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you know, really, I'm going to write really short sentences and just say the essential, because it's yeah. I just felt like with a language that is not mine, it's a different relationship, but also it's immensely liberating, the distance that it puts in it. But then as the piece evolved as well, I introduced chunks in Spanish into it. And so there's moments where we swap from one to the other, and one of the characters translates what the other one is saying for the audience at certain points. Okay. But yeah, I like writing in English. It's economical.
It's like what we were saying about writing short stories. So you have those.
Yeah.
When we are devising, we need always some certain constrictions.
Yes.
That actually allows us to create. So.
Yeah. And suddenly all the extraneous stuff goes, because it's like, wow, you're not, I'm not building a really complicated descriptive or I don't know what, or it's like, okay, but this is not essential, out. So that I find, again, it's another constraint that I like.
And sorry, I was just gonna move on into the audience, like because I see the time and I want to talk about the audience.
Yes.
And I want to ask, do you have the audience in mind when you make your work, or you say like, look, I'm gonna do whatever I like and I want? Many makers do that, and that's it.
Yeah.
What is your view on that?
Yeah. No, I have totally the audience in mind, but I don't know who my audience is, so I don't spend time going, would they like this or will they not? So I want to trust as well that what I'm doing or what we're doing is if it's interesting to us, and you know, and we're rigorous and good with it, it will reach whoever it needs to reach. I have no idea who our audience is. It's varied, depending, it's changed with every piece, because you know, the people who came to see our initial devised shows that were very physical and with a lot of comedy content as well. You know, when we did the adaptation of the Brothers Karamazov, it's a different audience. A lot of people came who were very big lovers of the book, or we adapted that with Enda Walsh, so a lot of followers of Enda Walsh came to see that. So it really depends. So we don't try to preempt who are we doing this for, because we don't know. So we try to do a good thing, you know, that interests us and that has value.
And I think, connecting to this question, there's a question, another question in the Q&A someone's posted, saying how do the audience you play differ in their responses across different countries that you perform in?
Again, it's dependent on the piece. But actually, one of our most memorable moments where we performed in Northern Ireland with our first show once, and it's a show that is very sort of light-hearted in a way, dark, but not like, you know, fast and quite physical and almost slapsticky at points, very slapsticky at points. And at the end of the Q&A, there was questions like, you know, why did you decide to do such a political show? Which was absolutely fascinating to us, because it was like, political? I mean, but and then I think since then, all our pieces, we've really tried to connect with a political, social dimension, and we've always been really, really interested, more and more. Actually, I think sometimes, you know, it's funny, a lot of people are, oh, why don't you do Three Dog Tales? Why don't you go back to do that thing that you did, slapsticky fun? I think, and we're like, well, we did that then, and now we're doing something else. And
we had Northern Ireland, and they didn't.
yeah, and by the way, in Northern Ireland, they think it's like full-on political drama. So I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, so it really it so depends on what people read into it. But we've performed in a lot of places with different shows, and tragically never in Spain. This for me is
anyone out there?
It's like what I don't know why we've been everywhere in like pretty much, you know, from New Zealand, Australia, China, Mexico, Brazil, United States, everywhere. But not Spain, in Europe, all over the place. And it's a tragedy for me. It's a tragedy. It's like, why are we not in Spain? What's happening? Like, but you know, with all the 6 shows that we've done, I don't know, we've it's been unlucky, and the circumstance, like sometimes we invited people who couldn't come, and oh, we're sorry, we miss you. There's been a bit of that, and there's been a bit of like, maybe we're in a channel that it hasn't, or maybe I haven't worked hard enough, and I haven't done it.
No, but it will happen. It will happen.
It's true. It's a connection that it's like, wow, how is this possible? We have to come. Yeah. So yeah, but that would be a really great thing to do.
And I guess, I think kind of in the final stages of shows, I mean, it's a question, do you read reviews, and what's the value for you of the reviews?
I don't read them. I don't read. It's a little bit, for me, it's kind of weird. Like it's like saying I don't go to the theater. I don't know how this sounds, but yes, I don't read them. I like to keep focus on the work. I value enormously the conversations that I have with people in the bar, our audience who've seen the show, engaging with them, or through email, or through, you know, that to me is what makes me understand how the show is being received, and that to me is a valuable thing. And the reviews, I sometimes I've read them after the run, especially if when we were in Edinburgh. For me it's really distracting, but that's a personal thing. Some performers are really okay with this, and I just really want to keep the focus in the work. I think it's distracting for me, so I try not to read it.
Sometimes it's unavoidable, and as you were saying, and Yara was saying the other day, in places like Edinburgh, it's like impossible. Like, and
all this whole star thing. I mean, it's it's really difficult to navigate. No, yes, I keep connected to the work and to the people that you talk to, that you talk face to face, that you can engage in conversation with, that you can, if they say something, you can ask, you can go, okay, why, and what did you think, and why this is, you know, you can, it's constructive. Most of the time it's just, I just don't find it's a constructive exercise. Therefore I have like, there was, I can't remember his name, Andrew Hayden, that critic. Yeah, I thought his reviews, we always thought they were constructive, you know, and we followed him, but yeah, it's rare. I don't know, it's rare.
It's a rare thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about when you work for other people. How do you find that? You find that like a little bit of a holiday in a way? Because you don't have the producing responsibility, so you just have to focus on it.
Yes. It's a joy. I like it. I really like it. And I especially, I like to learn from other processes, and because our processes are intense, and they're, you know, and it's just, I really enjoy it when I open up to other rehearsal rooms and to work with other people and see how other people do it. And I try to learn the most exciting sort of process for me was with the trilogy at the Donmar, because that was a 3-year-long project, doing Shakespeare, which I had never done before.
You're also a movement director for it?
Yes, I did for the for Julius Caesar. I did the because I was in it, and it was a company of 13 people. Philida and I said that very early on to her. I said, I'm really happy to co-do it with someone, but it's going to be hard for me to be in it and out. And so Anyi, who's amazing, and she did the movement direction for the 3 pieces, and I was working with her. We worked together on them. And then whenever she was not around, I was running the warm-ups and the fight calls, and it was quite a physical show. So yeah, there was this connection. But yeah, that was really, really fascinating, you know, and observing someone else, a whole other team of people, and such a different company as well, 13 women. So yeah, that I enjoyed, and I enjoy working in other rooms and in other media as well. I love that.
Yeah. No matter what you do, I am gonna guess that the people are most impressed by is your collaboration in Harry Potter.
My kids are like, mom. Yes, this was a funny thing that came. It's because Daniel Radcliffe was doing École, that play on in the West End, and he was working with an actor who knew me, and he had done one of the Harry Potters with Catherine Hunter, and was fascinated by her, and he said, I've never had any training as an actor, and he said to her, I where did you train? And she said, Lecoq. And he was like, I need to understand this training. And so he asked around, and this guy who was working with him at the time, and I was working with him on something else, he said, oh yeah, Carolina went, so maybe she can be your coach. So we met, and for the last 2 films, I, in the background, tried one-to-one to train him on the Lecoq. It was extraordinary.
Using the walking, stopping exercises.
I mean, it was fascinating. First of all, what was fascinating was his curiosity and his will to, like, he was 18 at the time, I think, and or 17, I can't remember. And yeah, he really wanted. He said, of course, I can't go to the school, but I really, really want to do this training. And so we did as much as we could, the 2 of us, but there came a point, it was like, we can't go further with this because I need to be outside. We need other people to work with, and we need other elements in the room in order to further this. You know, if I'm going to take you through really some of the things, you know, and so at the end we said, well, let's just take the scenes that you're working with in the last 2 films, and let's just work around those scenes. So it was fascinating. It was brilliant. We worked on the scenes, and then after I worked with him, then Bonnie Wright, who is Ginny Weasley, so I did it with her as well. Yeah. And so I did it with both, and they were both brilliant. They were so generous and curious and committed, and we had 3-hour-long sessions, one-to-one every time, and you know, we did all the, you know, all of that, and all of the 20 movements and neutral mask, and as much as we could, and taking of the understanding how to work with the space, and it was brilliant. It was really great, but it could only go to a certain place, and then I was invited on set, and it was a great team. And then I met the director, and he was like, oh, yeah, great, and we talked, and you know, I thought it was such a great collaboration. It was really nice. It was really
super fun.
I'm just really conscious of the time, but there's a question as well. I wanted to ask you about your role in Killing Eve. So we'll do it really quickly. It's like the fun. This is the fun moment.
Fun moment of the talks. Fun moment.
No, just because I saw that scene, and Judy, I'm gonna pronounce it wrongly, Judy Comer,
yes,
speaking in Catalan. Did you?
Yes.
And did you coach her as well?
I had one day with her where she's incredible. She's she what a hard worker. We met the couple of days before the scene, and we went through through the scene, and I coached her on some of the accents and words, but she already had done so much work on it. It was really like, wow. And then we got to the day, and it was just the two of us, and the director asked us to, can you do it in English? And she just completely freaked out. She was like, oh no, we just have to do it in Catalan because it's just going to explode our brain. We're going to lose the plot completely. So we just did 13 hours of Catalan scene. And it was great. And what was incredible was for me the most pleasurable moment, which was, the whole day was great, but the physical exertion of the final moment was very exciting for me physically, because it was interesting. It was the most theatrical moment for me in terms of putting your body through an experience that is very physical, and I really enjoyed that moment.
It's amazing.
It's an amazing scene. It's brilliant.
Short-lived. I'm like, why do you have to kill my character? It's nothing. I can
no.
It's like, why?
Did you film in Spain, or did you?
No, we were in London. I came from Spain to do it in London, and they were great, because initially when I auditioned for it, the scene was in Spanish. I was like, you can't do this in Spanish. This has to be in Catalan. You're gonna, like, are you aware of what's going on in Catalonia at the moment? You cannot shoot within the context of your plot. This has to, and so it was, it was like,
really well with.
I thought it was filmed in Girona or something like that.
No, they did film in Girona, and they went to Barcelona.
Because I recognize some of those places.
Yes, yeah, but they built the whole set in the Ealing Studios. So the shop they just build it.
So I think we've run out of time now.
Yeah.
Patricia, we have so many questions.
Thank you so much, Carolina. Thank you so much. It's been a joy, a pleasure. It's amazing. You're amazing. Thank you so much for your generosity of sharing this time with us. And and see you soon. See you around. See you.
It would be so amazing to be able to meet all of us. Like I've never. This is such a great initiative, because I've never felt connected in this way to, other women of Spanish heritage, or however you want to call it, a connection. And yes. I find the London identity very difficult, and it's really nice to connect with you through this. So I thank you for this platform so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our support. Thank you for the support of the Spanish Embassy, Spain Arts and Culture, Spanish Embassy in London. Thank you so much, and thank you to all our attendees. Mercè, say goodbye.
I'm going to say goodbye, and I'm going to just remind everyone that we have 2 more talks next week.
Yes.
That will be with Elena Olivieri and with Teatre de Barcelona, and that's going to happen again Tuesday and Thursday. So if you want to be within our Zoom posting questions and on the Q&A, please register before. Otherwise, we'll be again on Facebook Live. And thank you so much, and good evening.
Thank you. Thank you all. See you next week. See you. Bye. See you, Carolina. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. She Makes It Happen was produced by Little Soldier Productions with the support of Spain Arts and Culture and Spanish Embassy in London.